Hey everybody, greetings from Arizona and welcome to Same Storm, Different Boat. Today we have our friend and neighbor, Dale Carroll, who lives here in Arizona, and he is a commercial airline pilot. He's been a pilot for 31 years. And so let me just give you a little backstory about how we know Dale. His wife, Diana, knocked on our door one day shortly after we moved in, and we had a little conversation through our Ring doorbell, and fast forward, we became really great friends. We finally were able to get Wayne's schedule and Dale's schedule to line up. We had a few dinners, a few cocktails over time as they both were home from traveling, and here we are. We became fast friends. So we decided we wanted to talk to Dale a little bit about what's going on in the airline industry and just how this has maybe changed some things for them, not only work-wise, but maybe, also in their daily lives. So welcome everyone. Hi Dale, how are you?
Hi, pretty good. Awesome. So who all is this going out to?
Well, right now we're just recording it, but it's going to go to YouTube and to a podcast distributor of some sort. So we're hoping that you reach millions very soon.
Well, hello world.
But we can't guarantee that.
So how has the coronavirus affected the amount of flying you do pre this situation versus now?
Well, I'm not flying. Well, that's not true. I'm caught in training. So I'm coming off the wide body and going to a narrow body. And if I would have stayed on the wide body, then I literally wouldn't be flying probably, who knows when, end of summer, fall. But since I'm going to the narrow body, there will still be flying once I'm able to get finished training. I'm just caught in the middle where I'm just doing nothing. I've done one flight and I have another one next week, and then I'll be re-qualified to fly.
Wow. Yeah. So it's really made a difference, because basically then you would have finished the different plane training and would have just gone into a normal schedule. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you were gone just about every week when pre this situation, right?
No. I averaged, well, on the wide body, I averaged 11 days a month of flying.
Okay. But most of that was international, right?
All of it was international. So some guys fly a little less, some guys fly a little more. A narrow body guy will fly 16 to 18 days a month.
Wow. But still a drastic change from 11, 12 days to
huge change.
Now you're just kind of going, oh my heck.
I want to go fly. I want to go work.
Right. Exactly.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't get into the music business or the flying business because we hate what we're doing. We love what we're doing and we want to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that your background includes the Navy. Is that correct?
Yes, I did both civilian and Navy.
Right. And in the Navy, you told me you were an electronic warfare operator. I assume that means in some form or other you were looking at a screen.
Yeah, in a P3 Orion doing anti-sub warfare, over the horizon targeting, drug interdiction, in Bosnia or outside of Bosnia doing the battle group support and stopping the guns from coming into the Bosnian war, that kind of stuff.
Oh, so your training as an electronic warfare operator was in a plane. You were in the plane.
Yes.
Seeing things as they happened.
Yes. Yeah. Amazing. Real world, on station, middle of nowhere.
What? So when you decided that you wanted to actually fly the plane, what was the transition like? How much training did you have to do to learn to fly? A commercial airliner and did your training in the Navy have any correlation? Did any of it, transition you to sitting in the chair?
Well, the good news is for anybody of any gender, any race, any economic background, they could do what I did. I joined the Navy, and the Navy got me motivated to do something, paid the educational benefits that helped me. It didn't pay for it. And I took out a large student loan. So I did Navy, which got me in. And then I got out of active duty Navy, stayed in the reserves, which had nothing to do with the airlines. And then I went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, flight instructed, got hired by a commuter, then got hired by a major airline. So the two I did together. Most people do one or the other. I did both.
You gave us a statistic the other day that was very interesting. You said that in flight training for airlines, X number of people, you gave a number, like X number of people go through the training, but only X number of people actually follow through. I thought that was a very interesting statistic. It's not real high, right? Like the number.
No, the number of people, just like musicians, the number of people that want to do it and they start doing it is big. But by the time you weed out the desire to actually do it, the hard work, no pilot has an easy road. You either have to go military or you have to take out student loans and flight instruct, so you're poor. For 6 months, I was actually homeless after I graduated, after I graduated Embry-Riddle, but before I got hired as a flight instructor. I wasn't working, so I had to sleep on people's couches, behind couches. So there is no easy way. So those that don't make it for grades, or if you can't get loans, or you can't go in the military, or whatever, it's a very low statistic that actually make it in.
Right. And I find that, I do find that really interesting because I don't know, sometimes I think maybe people have the perception of your career, not unlike they have this perception of a musician's career, that, it's just easy. You just go to flight school and it's just easy. And I don't, since we've known you and learned from you, I think that's a big misconception that people have, that it's an easy career. What does, you said you flew, I think you said last week or the week before. What do your flights look like today in the number of people, how people are spaced out, are food and beverages served today versus pre this situation, pandemic that we're in?
Well, before this, the flights were absolutely packed, wall to wall. They did food service, beverage service. People would stand up in the middle of everywhere during flight, and flight attendants would call us and say, "Hey, can you sit these people down? It's like a cocktail party back here." The good news is they're secure, feeling like they're in their living room, but you're 40,000 feet in the air traveling at 500 miles an hour. It's not a stable environment. It's not unstable, but it's not like your living room. Now, what I did was a 3-day trip where I did 3 legs and then 2 legs the second day and 1 leg coming back. And the first 2 legs, we had 3 people going to a beach resort in Mexico area, 4 coming back. And of the 3, 1 person had a house down there. 1 person had to go on business and the other one was asleep. And then we did, Seattle and Minneapolis. And there were 60 on those. But remember, it's a 150 passenger airplane. 60 people doesn't make money. 3 or 4 people definitely don't.
Right. Yeah.
So there is no food. And in first class, there is no food. There is beverage. However, you have to ask specifically for the drink. And if you want it, they'll bring it, but they don't come through and give it to you. And the flight attendants, they wear gloves. They change gloves, I don't know how many times, and they spray their area down every time somebody goes in or out of the bathroom. They on the door handles and in and around. And I only know that from not non-revving, but deadheading back and forth to and from training, just the way things have changed in the back.
Wow. Certainly a very different experience from, when the flights you've done, for all the travel that you've done, and myself alike. So
No, yeah, we've commented many times that it's 1 out of 10 or 15 flights that have any room on them. They've all been absolutely completely full, and then suddenly the rug's pulled out. Speaking of that, there's another thing you told us the other day that I found fascinating, because I know there is a plane museum and graveyard out here in Arizona in the desert, but you were talking about just the physical aspect of airlines having to take their fleet and mothball them somewhere. And the thought came to me to ask, how do they maintain the planes that they know they're going to bring back? Is it like an old 57 Chevy? You got to get out there and start it up and get the oil running, or what? You know what I mean? It's how does it work to keep a plane ready to go?
Well, probably like your guitar. If you have a guitar that you just let it sit for 3 months, doesn't hurt it. It's out of tune. It is an instrument that is supposed to be used. A guitar that's not being strummed is worthless. An airplane is built to fly. And when they're parking them, I've seen 2 videos, one of American where they did a flyover in Tulsa where and 777s parked like on an aircraft carrier on a runway, and they flew a drone down it, and it's amazingly sad to see those beasts just sitting there quiet. And then there's another one that I saw that had FedEx, Southwest, Delta, JetBlue, and a few others. Just it looked like the Pima Air Museum, but of airliners.
Right.
And when they park them, I don't know exactly, but I know engines up with paper tape, whatever it is. I'm not sure what it is. Something to prevent dust from going in the engine, the front or the back. I believe they cover the windows up. I know they cover the static ports and the pitot tubes, and they cover them up. But what they do with the hydraulics and oil, I have no idea. They can't pull them out very quick if it's a short sit and get them back going again.
wow.
What's the turnaround? A few hours to get
I have no idea. I don't know. I know that our wide bodies, or actually everybody's wide bodies are, there's a few of them that they're doing cargo with. You never would have thought you would see American, Delta, United join at FedEx and UPS and cargo as far as shipping cargo only with no passengers, but they're doing it.
So they're taking the seats out?
One carrier, and I don't know who they are, got authorization to take the seats out and put bins in it to carry stuff. I do know that airlines are flying masks and COVID-19, funny enough, masks from China to the US, and flying stuff to Frankfurt, Germany, and New York, and they are flying cargo around. But 90% of them are parked.
Right.
Wow.
Crazy.
And ching, 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 losing hundreds of thousands of dollars every single day that those planes are sitting.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's that's the scary part, is the amount of money lost. And everybody, when this is over, will want, I want service from my place to where I want to go. and there's service that is going to be lost out of this that will be inconvenient.
Right.
Mhm.
I heard on uh, NPR the other day, someone was talking about uh, the head of Airbus had said that he's bleeding cash daily, and
Oh yeah.
he likened it to when you bleed out, you're dead.
Well, there's
And
already been 4 airlines go out of business, small ones. Who knows what's going to happen with the majors? For us, as far as I know, all the major airlines took the federal package, and in that federal package, they can't furlough, grade against people's wishes till September 30th. So the airlines, if they, and I do not, I'm not a spokesman for an airline. I don't know the ins and outs of their package, but I do know that if they have service either 2 months ago or a year ago to X city, they have to keep service to X city, even if there's nobody flying.
wow.
Now, come September 30th, that's over. And on October 1st, out of all the airline people I know, including me, that's what I'm worried about. So when everybody will be getting back to normal, the airlines will be getting ready to get hammered.
Right.
Hopefully not, but
Right.
we'll see.
Right. What's your overall take? I I think we kind of touched on this before. What's your overall take on how the passengers feel that are flying with you now, um, in regards to their health? Do you think that they feel safe flying? I mean, but if there's only 4 people, that's kind of 4, 5, 10 people. It's
Yeah,
actually safer probably than going to the grocery store. But the people that are flying, do you feel like that they're comfortable in doing so?
well, the 4 or 5 people can definitely social distance.
Yeah.
um, that's more of a flight attendant question than a pilot question. However, when I was deadheading back and forth from home to training, I sat in the back, and my for now to travel, because the flight attendants are wiping everything down. They have a sanitization protocol in place where they're sanitizing the airplanes. And then when every passenger comes on, they break out their handy wipes and start wiping everything down. And they collect all that before they depart. So all that stuff is off the airplane. They make several announcements. Don't put handy wipes down in the seat back pocket. I do know that they, as long as they can, they're implementing social distancing on the airplane, as in first class, they'll put somebody in 1A and then skip a seat and go 1C, and then 2B, 2D, and continue on back, unless you have a married couple, and then they put at least a seat between them. And when you get back to the coach, if they can, they're only going to have 2 people per row, one all the way to the left and one on the aisle, and then the seat behind them will have one in the aisle and one all the way to the right. So they are trying to social distance, but that's only a product of nobody's flying.
Right. Right.
So states, cities are trying to open up, and they're doing it on a gradual basis. Do you see the airline industry opening up slowly that same way in, call it 30 days, 60 days? Or do you think there's going to be some big fat rush at the airport that suddenly somebody just takes the lid off it and says, you're free to go ahead and fly?
Well, airline flying is a product of supply and demand, which makes me nervous over the summer, and especially for October 1st. Mm-hmm. We were supposed to go to the Passion Play in Oberammergau, Germany, and Oktoberfest. Those have already been canceled. Disneyland has stated they're not opening till January 1st. So all those people that were going to fly for vacation to where large people gather, it's not going to happen. And if they don't fly, then we don't sell tickets. And if we don't sell tickets, that's where our money comes from. And that's why October 1st is fearful for us. As far as states opening up, that's a good question. I know there's 2 doctors in Bakersfield and Dr. David Katz, who currently have a YouTube video from meetings they had that talk about and I'm just paraphrasing, I would urge everybody to go look those up, that yes, the pandemic is here, and I'm rubbing my eye, and that that we did need to quarantine and isolate to keep the hospitals from being overrun. However, now that that's passed, we are people that live in viruses. We live in germs. That's just where we live, and that we can't get away from the coronavirus. Influenza is. It's here. It's not going to be eradicated and go away. So we need to get our immune systems built up to it. And that's the strong getting back out there, and the vulnerable staying safe for a while. And when that is, how that is, that's above my pay grade, sir.
Has this, and it is literally an international pandemic, and the changes that it's created in all of our everyday lives, it's affected all of us. Would you care to share any little things that maybe really stand out in your mind, that how it's affected you and your wife? And has this caused you guys to look at life differently, or put things into a different perspective than how life was before this situation happened?
Well, before this situation happened, I was gone usually 3 to 4 3-day trips a month, and my wife had the home to herself and didn't have me irritating her. And now I'm home and she hasn't killed me yet. So I'm thankful.
It's
for
going
that.
well.
It's going well. I'm not ready to retire. I don't like not going out and doing and flying and being active, going on trips. I understand why we can't. Just the one thing that has kind of caught me is the importance of faith, because there is so much fear over getting COVID-19. And I turned off the news a month ago, and I'll watch little bits at certain times to understand where we're at, what we're doing. But other than that, I turn it off, because when I watch the evening news, they talk about the hospitals being overrun and full and not enough beds. Yet one of our neighbors down the street had to have surgery, and he was the only one in the hospital where they were at. And doctors and nurses are being laid off because they were expecting a big wave, and it's just not being produced in places like Phoenix. In New York City, it is.
Right.
So there's just fear that is going rampant. And the worst thing that can happen, I believe, in the world, by the world's view, is dying. That there's nothing worse in the world. Well, via my faith, death is just a change, and life in Christ, this is a blip in our life, and death is just a natural part of our person, our spirit, our soul being returned to Christ. So death is not to be feared. It's to be looked forward to. Not looking forward to the pain, not looking forward to that stuff that we don't know about in the middle. However, somebody in Christ should not be fearful of death.
Well, and I think you said something too that is not unlike what Wayne and I and specifically him is facing at this time. You said, I'm not ready to retire. You guys, you and Wayne are kind of on that same path. You've got several more years to go. And, does this force an early retirement for some people? We don't know. It all remains to be seen. But this wasn't what was in yours and your wife's daily and long-term plan at this particular point in your life. You had a big trip planned. You guys have had to cancel. Again, that was the reasoning behind doing this podcast, was because it really drove me crazy to continually hear we're all in the same boat. No, we aren't. No, we aren't. We're in the same storm, because this could create a situation where maybe you have to retire. Maybe who knows? There's still so much unknown that we don't know, but it was really the heart and soul behind this, because I feel like people don't really understand that we're not all in the same boat. It's different from every one of us. It's different from, you have a daughter that lives in Florida. You right now, 3 weeks ago, it wasn't, if you wanted to go there, it wasn't that easy, or was it even really healthy to go there and to see her? It has affected those kinds of things differently in everybody's lives. So.
Oh yeah. My daughter and new son-in-law, they've had, I'm going to say, a lot of fun. They have a little boat and they can just set into the river and go fishing. They're by themselves. They've spent this whole time on the river. My stepdaughter that lives by herself, and I feel for single people, while they were isolated, at least my wife and I were isolated together. I may get on her nerves, but at least we were together. The single people, they were isolated.
Right.
And that would be horrendous. And other people that are living literally paycheck to paycheck, and it took a while for the stimulus checks to get to them, which the ones who needed it, that made life hard on them. But once this gets released and they can go back to work, they'll be fine. Where for us, I'm fine right now, but come October, November, I'm saving all the money I can right now for them, because that's when it's going to hit us. So it's like, is the wave now, or is the wave delayed to a later point?
Right, right. Hey, listen, we really appreciate you joining us today. It's insightful, because like you said, there are some people, you gave the absolute perfect example. There's some people that it affected right now. And then as things open up, they'll go back to work and they will get back on their feet quickly. For us, for you, it's down the road that the wave will be very different for us. So that is, again, at the heart of why I really wanted to do this. So we really appreciate it.
All right. Now, one of the things,
your scope of explaining how big that industry is, I would be willing to bet half the people that listen would have no clue as to the scope of what has to happen in the airline industry and how vulnerable it is, because it's something that we just keep taking for granted. There's an airport, we go, there's multiple carriers, we will get there. That's in jeopardy now. It won't be as easy to get where we want to go.
If airplanes aren't flying, they're costing you big bucks.
Yep.
I'm to the tune of dollars that I can't even fathom, to billions of dollars. I don't know if it's a week, a month. It's huge. And as to Rhonda, there are companies and businesses that are flourishing now like they never did.
Mhm.
But at the same time, there's some mom and pop places, they're done. They're never going to reopen.
Right.
Yeah,
But we're all in the same storm.
that's right.
Same storm for
Same
sure.
storm. Thanks so much. We'll see. We'll yell across the street and chink our glasses across the street.
Schlancha.
From porch to porch.
Absolutely.
There you go. And soon together.
That's right.
Again.
Again. All right. You guys have a great evening.
All right. You have a good day.
Thanks.
See ya.
Take care.
Bye.